Imagine this, it's your wedding night. The air is thick with joy. The celebrations have just wound down, and you're finally alone with the love of your life. For Hamid, this was supposed to be the happiest moment. He walked into his new life, his heart pounding with excitement, only to be met with a scream. Not a scream of passion, but of pure agony. His bride, just moments ago radiant and smiling, was now doubled over, her face a mask of pain. "I'm having a baby," she cried out. Hamid's world stopped. A baby, now. Before he could even process the words, he was scrambling out of the room, his mind a chaotic whirl of confusion and panic, shouting for help. The festive atmosphere of the wedding instantly evaporated, replaced by a thick, heavy silence. Suddenly, a group of women, all dressed in somber black, appeared as if from nowhere. They moved with a chilling efficiency, rushing into the room and covering Hamid's bride with a large dark sheet. Within minutes, they had carried her out, bundled her into a waiting car, and sped off into the night, leaving a trail of stunned and whispering guests. Where was she going? Why was she taken like that? The whispers turned into a torrent of questions, but no one had any answers. The wedding night had turned into a mystery, and at the center of it was Hamid, standing alone amidst the wreckage of his shattered dreams. Humiliation washed over Hamid, hot and sharp. He felt the eyes of every remaining guest on him, their gazes a mixture of pity and suspicion. He was the groom whose bride gave birth on their wedding night. The shame was suffocating. Desperate for answers, he grabbed his phone and called his father in it. The man's voice on the other end was a flat wall of denial. "Nothing is wrong," he insisted, his tone unconvincing. But then, a rustle and Hamid heard his mother-in-law in the background, her voice strained, admitting something was terribly amiss. The pieces started clicking into place, forming a picture that made Hamid's stomach churn. His bride, she must have been pregnant before their marriage. The thought was a betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. Just as Hamid's anger and despair threatened to consume him, his mother found him. Her face was calm, her voice steady. "Hamid," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. "Listen to me very carefully. Do not do anything rash." She told him he had to go to the hospital, but that wasn't all. "When you get there," she instructed, "you will take the baby in your arms, and you will tell everyone it is yours." Hamid recoiled. "Never," he exclaimed. How could he claim another man's child? The shame would be unbearable. But his mother was insistent. "There is a reason for this. My son," she pleaded, her eyes filled with a strange urgency. "Trust me, just this once, please." Torn between his pride and his respect for his mother, Hamid felt a flicker of doubt. What could she possibly know that he didn't? Reluctantly, Hamid drove to the hospital, his mind a war zone of conflicting emotions. As he walked through the sterile corridors, a young man approached him, his face a mixture of anxiety and guilt. "I'm the father," the man confessed, his voice barely a whisper. The words hit Hamid like a physical blow. It was true, the ultimate betrayal. A wave of fury surged through him, so powerful he could barely breathe. He wanted to scream, to lash out, to destroy something. But then his mother's words echoed in his ears. "Trust me." Taking a deep, shuddering breath, Hamid made a decision that went against every fiber of his being. He would take his wife home, not for her, not for himself, but for his parents. It was the only thing he could do. The drive back was silent and suffocating, but the scene that awaited them at home was even more bewildering. There was his bride, standing in the living room, still in her pristine wedding dress. She wasn't pale or weak. She wasn't showing any signs of having just given birth. She looked ... perfect, as if the whole nightmarish episode had been a dream. To make things even stranger, Hamid's mother rushed to her, embracing her warmly, her face beaming with relief and affection. Hamid just stood there, completely lost. The anger that had been simmering within him now boiled over into pure, unadulterated confusion. What in the world was going on? This made no sense. Just as Hamid was about to demand an explanation, the doorbell rang. It was his wife's sister and her husband. And in the sister's arms, wrapped in a soft blue blanket, was a newborn baby. The sister's eyes were red from crying. She rushed to Hamid's wife, hugging her tightly. "Thank you," she sobbed, her voice choked with emotion. "I will never, ever forget what you did for me tonight. You saved me." Her husband looked nervous, trying to quiet her down. "That's enough," he muttered, glancing uneasily at Hamid. Saved her from what? What had his wife done? The questions piled higher and higher, and Hamid felt like he was losing his mind. He needed the truth, and he needed it now. After the strange visitors finally left, the silence in the house was deafening. Hamid turned to his wife and his mother, his face a storm of emotions. "Someone better tell me what's happening right now," he demanded. His mother placed a calming hand on his arm. "Patience, my son," she said gently. "Sit down. We will explain everything." She guided him to the sofa, and then the most incredible story began to unfold. She looked at him, her eyes serious, and said the words that would change everything. "Hamid, the baby is not your wife's." The room spun. If it wasn't her baby, then whose was it? And why had his wife put him through this agonizing charade? Then his wife began to speak, her voice soft but steady. She told him about her older sister, the one who had just left. Her sister had been married for 5 years, desperately wanting a child, but unable to conceive. The societal pressure and a deep sense of failure had driven her to a moment of weakness. A terrible mistake she regretted instantly, an affair that resulted in a pregnancy. Her marriage was on the brink of collapse, and the family's honor was at stake. To save her sister from public disgrace and a devastating divorce, Hamid's wife had come up with a desperate, selfless plan. She would pretend the baby was hers. The whole wedding night birth was a meticulously staged play. His wife was never pregnant. The women in black, The rush to the hospital, it was all an elaborate deception designed to create a believable cover story. When she was whisked away, she was taken to a private, safe location where her sister, who had gone into labor at the same time, was waiting. His wife had simply stayed with her sister, offering support while the real birth took place. The plan was to create a narrative where the baby was born to Hamid and his wife, thus allowing her sister to keep her marriage and raise her child without the shadow of scandal. It was an act of immense sacrifice, a sister's love so profound that she was willing to risk her own new marriage and reputation to protect her family. Hamid was stunned into silence. He looked at his mother, who nodded, confirming the story. Both families, his parents and his in-laws, were in on the secret. They had all agreed to this drastic plan to protect the honor of the entire family. His mother's strange instructions, his father-in-law's denial, it all clicked into place. They weren't lying to deceive him maliciously. They were trying to navigate an impossible situation to contain a fire that threatened to burn them all. They were protecting their children, all of them. The shame and anger that had been poisoning Hamid's heart began to dissolve, replaced by a profound sense of awe. The weight of the truth settled over Hamid. He looked at his wife, truly seeing her for the first time. The woman he had accused of betrayal in his heart had, in fact, performed an act of incredible courage and compassion. She had sacrificed her own wedding night, her reputation, and his trust, all to save her sister. A wave of shame washed over him, but this time it was for his own hasty judgment. He stood up, walked over to her, and took her hands in his. "I am so sorry," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Can you forgive me?" In that moment, all doubt vanished. He knew with absolute certainty that he had married a woman of incredible strength and character. 1 year later, the sound of genuine, happy laughter filled Hamid's home. He and his wife had been blessed with a baby boy of their own. His wife's sister, her marriage healed and her secret safe, was a frequent and loving visitor, her own child, now a happy toddler. The storm had passed and peace had been restored, stronger than before. This incredible story teaches us a powerful lesson. Sometimes things are not what they seem. It reminds us of the power of patience, the beauty of forgiveness, and the incredible sacrifices we make for the ones we love. What began as a scandal was, in truth, a story of profound love and courage. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible true stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.